Hello, I'm Alderwoman Sheila Finlayson, and welcome to our Annapolis. Today, I have a very special guest, Mr. Tony Spencer. Mr. Spencer has a newfound passion that he's going to share with us. But before we get into his passion, just a little bit about Arts in Public Places. Every month, Arts in Public Places, one of the organizations within the city, sponsors an art exhibit on the halls of City Hall. And about 2 weeks ago, Mr. Spencer's work, his artwork, visual artwork, was displayed. And so I've invited him here today to share with us a little bit about this newfound passion and to tell us where he's going next. Okay. Welcome, Mr. Spencer.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity to share. Actually, it's not a newfound passion. It's nothing that you'll see with some of my artwork that is new, except this particular project. I've been painting since 1967. It's just that most people knew that I was a vocal artist, and we just never talked about it, the visual part, because I never brought it up. But I've been painting since 1967 in high school, and I guess sold my first professional paintings in the 12th grade in '69. And as a matter of fact, 3 of those pictures are part of the current exhibit.
Wow.
Yes. So what this one shows is acrylic on canvas, and some of them have been, those frames put on archival paper in frames, but they come in different mediums.
So I understand there was one large picture that I had the good fortune to see, yes. And from that one picture, painting, you were able to extrapolate out several other paintings.
Right. A friend of mine, Dr. Joan Gaither, who was a quilter, which he was a major professor at MICA in Baltimore City. She said when she teaches her students, she asks them to look at a painting, say Renoir, and find paintings within that painting. Mm-hmm. And when she said that to me, all of a sudden I started seeing things that I hadn't saw before, and I painted a picture. And my wife started seeing things. Then my daughter started seeing things. And so we made pictures of individual shots of certain segments. It wasn't necessarily of a person's face, it could have been just a design. But along with this exhibit, I have 4 other separate exhibits within it, but they all have the theme of family. The theme is tribal, but it's TRYBE-ALL, all tribes. Mm-hmm. So you play on words. And so I'm just going to say the meaning of the word tribal in this case means that I don't care what denomination, what race, what gender, you're talking about family. You're talking about family supporting family.
So is the name of your exhibit tribal, or this one piece of artwork out of which you've extrapolated several others, the tribal?
The main picture is called Tribal Celebrations. The exhibition is called Tribal.
Okay.
Okay.
So if anyone were to walk into City Hall today, they could walk through the halls and observe, take advantage of tribal.
Yes, along with my great-great-grandfather's documentary quilt, James William Spencer, who was the founder of Freetown in Glen Burnie in 1845. So that's the first thing you'll see when you walk into City Hall on the wall on the right, a 6 by 8 foot quilt that my wife and you held, and my daughter and some other folks. And we know you helped because of all the needle sticks you got in your finger with the discovery of quilting. And so it's a family quilt, but I had friends and family to help.
Well, that was my first opportunity to be involved in a quilting project, yeah. And it was a phenomenal project. I've been amazed that Mrs. Gaither and others, yourself included, have brought quilting back to life. You know, our grandparents made quilts and passed them on to the children and the grandchildren. And they told stories too. And that art kind of went away. Yes. And so now that lost art has been found in your generation, my generation, yes. So that we will be able to carry that message on. Yes. I think going into City Hall and looking at your grandfather's quilt, you could read so much about the Spencers. Yes. You know, and so there is great value in every family creating a quilt and yes. telling their story.
Well, the great thing about the quilt, James Spencer and his wife Harriet had 9 sons and 3 daughters. And the generations that came from those families would be the Spencers, the Gaithers, the Kiss, the Williams, the Turners, and that's just to name a few. Now, my grandfather was married to Ada Henson, so my great-great-grandfather on my maternal side would be first cousin to Matthew Henson's father. So we have a lot of history.
Matthew Henson, the famous explorer. Matthew Henson.
Yes. So it's a lot of history on both sides. And what's so important about the quilt is that it's a documentary quilt, and the truth that's on fabric, on a painting, is long after you're gone, it's still here. And that's the thing about it. It's a legacy. It leaves a legacy. And so whether your life is positive or negative, you leave a legacy. And that's something we all need to understand. So build on that. I've realized that my uncle I had an aunt who told us about Matthew Henson. And because we were young and didn't see it in the history books, okay, well, she went into a coma for 6 years before she died. But she had started passing on the history about James Spencer and Matthew Henson to my Uncle Henson Spencer. And he started coming to Annapolis and getting information from the archives on the land purchases of James Spencer. So while his first purchase was in December 26, 1845, he continued buying land until 1880 something. He died in 1885, and acquiring almost 1,800 acres of land in this county. So he and other men, the thing about this quilt, it shows the trusteeship in people. And they were trustees in this community. In 1871, James Spencer and 5 other men bought land in the area we call Freetown. That's defined down to the district, to the pebble, where it's located, for the purpose of educating Negro men and boys. It says it in the deed that he purchased, the land he purchased. In 1873, he and the same 5 other men bought land from this Methodist Episcopal church down in the area we call Sunset Beach or Waterbury. And the place was there for itinerant preachers who were traveling from time to time to have retreats or whatever for the faith community. They bought the land from this church for $900 in 1873. 1877, these same 6 men sold the land back to the church for $1. And so you kind of read into that. They bought the land so the church wouldn't lose the land. And they sold it back to them 4 years later. So these are pioneers. And we talk about community trustees. We're talking about people like yourselves. I served on the school board. You have a responsibility. And seeing what these folks did back then, being a free man in the midst of slavery, and got those things done, is so much more we can still work on doing. So this is not just an art exhibit. It's about history, it's about family, it's about responsibility, it's about culture. It's about what a community can do together when we work together.
So what's the next stop for the quilt?
The next stop for the quilt would be 49 West with Brian and Sarah Callahan on West Street, 49 West. It's going to be March 1st through the 30th, and my reception will be on March the 6th from 5 to 7 p.m.
At 49 West?
At 49 West.
So will you have your entire exhibit on display there, or is it just the quilt, or?
The quilt is too large to be at 49 West. And I'm not sure how many of my pieces I will fit there. My pieces are not just small sizes. I see that Brian can take large sizes, small sizes. But with the width and the height of some of my paintings, I don't know how many I can get in there. This one had 21 paintings altogether. I have paintings that they haven't seen. I haven't had on exhibit yet because I need the space to do it. But I'm not sure if I would put them all out at one time anyway, okay? I've had some offers from some designers already to make some of my paintings into materials and other products. I'm taking this slowly because it's a new venture, but it's a real venture that I want to pass on to my children, my family. They've been involved with this, the planning, and some of the things we've been doing. So it's very important to have that kind of support. That's my base.
Well, from what I can see from here, it looks very exciting. And I've walked through the exhibit in City Hall, and it's extremely impressive for an art that we didn't know you had. So I don't know whether we're able to show some of, yeah.
Okay, let's do it. And I'm not sure how the light will work on this, okay, but
Now, these all seem to be pieces from the big
Right, and right now you're seeing some pictures that some are in the exhibit, some are not. And as a matter of fact, one of these are not in the exhibit. One of these are, one of these are not. So these two are different, one's a different size. This one's in, that one's not. But also, along with this, these two pictures right here, along with the small one here, the series was called Safari. I did those in 1969, and these are on muslin, not canvas, but muslin. It was a cloth that we painted, used semi-gloss paint to get the base from the back, and then I used a small pump to spray the background, and then use geometric forms to make the different things I made. This was supposed to be a tiger looking through the Everglades. This one, I painted it vertical, but I signed it horizontally, one more river to cross. And this one, as crazy as it sounds, this one is, the small one right here is called Swinging on the Back Nine. Okay? So that was 1969. This portion right here and these two, right peak, left peak, came from this one painting called The African Warrior. And so did this one, Toucan Prince. And I ask people, what do you see? And they'll say, well, I see a guy. No, you don't see a guy. This is a woman. And I said, look at the elongated neck. This is a woman, and she's an African warrior. And so one further up is called Eve's Warrior. So those were done, this was done in 2008. The Forest of My Ancestors kind of depicts the area where my great-great-grandfather bought his first 56-acre tract of land that we call Freetown today, but it started at what we know of as being Molly Creek. That area was called Smith's Forest. So that's the Forest of My Ancestors. That was 2009. 2010, this red, white, and blue, the colors of our country, is called Angry Anxiety. And it's painted from the viewpoint of the Native American, which is part of my family as well, of the decline or the destruction of our ecology. So this one, that's the largest one I've done. That was done in 2010. So I have some standalones, but it still has the mindset of family, of nurturing, of community. And so with that, those are things that you see in the exhibit. And these are just, this is a poster of James Spencer's documentary quilt that is in the City Hall right now. And of course, we'll never sell the quilt, but we can sell posters of the quilt. So that's available for sale. Mm-hmm. And the rest of this right now, I'm gonna give you a glimpse of something that is just my next project. And I actually painted this next project before, I actually drew this next project before I did I'm sorry, let this slide. Before I did this project, Travel. Travel was going to start off from this little piece of paper right here, that you see, okay? Mm-hmm. I was going to make symbolic instruments that represented music and sound. And the only thing that's on here that's close in my current project, is a keyboard, which eventually became a bridge. So, but this is my next project. It's called Ancestral Flight. And I'll just say that, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, that's exciting. So we get a peek into the future.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, how exciting for you and for the community to be able to experience your art.
Yes.
So, well, we look forward to seeing more exhibits, and you have an exhibit coming up at 49 West next month.
And at this point, I'm free in April, and I purposely did that because I've joined some other organizations in D.C. and some local ones, one off State Circle. So I want to have my art in different places, and sometimes they only take a few pieces at a time. Mm-hmm. So I still have more of my artwork that you haven't seen yet. I will have framed or put on canvas. But I'm back at Bates Legacy Center. I was there for almost 3.5 years. We've had, I think, 2 exhibits, and when one exhibit came down, they still wanted me to leave mine up. Mm-hmm. And so I left it up. I'm going back in May to the Bates Legacy Center, this time not just with the quilt, but with various pieces of art as well.
I think the Legacy Center is an untapped resource also. Because most people don't realize that there's always an exhibit going on in the center. And I think anyone can reach out to the Bates Legacy staff to find out what their hours of operation are. Yes. But there's always an exhibit going on.
May I mention a few names and contact information?
Sure.
If you know Ted and Betty Mack, Dr. Joan Gaither, Yvonne Gaither Smith, a number of us. Miss Irene Hebron was a member. Miss Isabel Cunningham from West Annapolis was a member of the Northern Arundel Cultural Preservation Society. And they started out this group in St. Mark Church with just people in the families doing family quilts, individual quilts. And then they invited some other churches to come and do the same thing. And then it became a nonprofit. And then they realized that people just need to continue telling their story for the generations that are coming behind. And so we continued doing quilts, and they kept telling me, Tony, you have to do your quilt about James Spencer. I said, okay, and I'm helping everyone else. And then Joan just cornered me. She said, sit down. What are the ideas? What are the things that were very popular about James Spencer? What did he do to inspire you? He was a family man. He worked arduously. I mean, in 1880, his census showed that he had 6 homes, hundreds of acres of apples, pears, peaches. They have livestock. I said, so all of these things that are happening, someone needs to hear about this and know about this. And as soon as you started talking about it, someone says, Spencer, wasn't his mother a Gaither? Yes. Gracious, I'm a Gaither. Matthews, yeah. Green. So you founded the connection, and then you started encouraging other folks. You need to have someone in your family who's doing this. Because when I'm gone, it needs to continue. My website, which let me share with you, is the word enrapture. Enrapture is the word that means to fill with delight. ENRAPTURE51.com. Enrapture51.com. That's the website.
So a lesson to be learned to the general community about preserving family history, and the fact that a quilt is that opportunity to do that and to be able to pass it on. Well, I want to thank you.
Thank you
for coming in and sharing your art with us and sharing a little bit of your family history.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being a part of this. You helped me out.
My pleasure.